Worf hates the Ferengi before ever having met them. Captain Picard cusses in French, and Data's finger makeup comes off. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Seventh Rule with Cirroc, Lofton, and Denise Crosby.
Hello, hello.
Hello, everyone.
My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today we're doing a review of Star Trek The Next Generation, Episode 4, The Last Outpost, story by Richard Kurzemian. I bet that's how you pronounce it. Teleplay by Herbert Wright and directed by Richard A. Cola. This was October 19th, 1987. Where were you? By the way, very special thanks to Grandpa One for sponsoring this entire season of The Next Generation. We love Grandpa One. And also special thanks to Sean Jones for sponsoring this episode. That was a mouthful. I am just so pumped that we have gotten past Code of Honor and moving on. How you guys doing?
Yeah.
Wow, Code of Honor. That'll shake the core to the bone, won't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, a podcast that can survive Code of Honor can survive anything.
Absolutely. An actor that can survive Code of Honor can survive anything.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Well, thanks to you. You carried that episode and made it actually halfway decent to watch. But this episode was kind of slow, though, a little bit. I don't know if you felt the same way, but I was like, all right, come on, let's get to it already.
Wow.
You just want to see the Ferengi.
Oh, my goodness. I thought this was like flatline. This
yeah.
Just a flatliner.
Flatliner.
I mean, if the Ferengi didn't wiggle as much as they did, we'd be in a coma, throughout.
Who was
this.
the one? What was his name? There was one of them that was doing
hands.
that. Yeah. What was his name? Mordok. He was
he was
living it up.
It was an interpretive dance going on the whole
I've seen
way
people
through
on Ventura Boulevard doing this.
Yeah.
I kept thinking, I was like, why are they doing Star Trek Planet of the Apes? Because I just felt like the Planet of the Apes hand motions and stuff. It was kind of remedial a little.
Right?
Yeah.
Especially when
these guys have a spaceship. I mean, I don't understand. It's just like, you're telling me they have technology and then you're telling me they're cavemen. It's like,
and cavemen monkeys. They jumped.
Yeah.
When they were fighting, they were like hugging them, and wiggling on the bodies of Riker and like two little monkeys.
Yeah.
It was what?
Yeah. It's funny because as much as I was angry about the last episode just hitting a lot of wrong notes for me, at least I felt a certain type of way when I was watching it. So I was watching it with a certain type of, all right, let me see what they do next. These guys are really messing this up. But I was into watching it. Mm-hmm. And this one was more like, this one was like, come on, guys. Would you just like, what the hell is this slow story for? And what is the point of the story? That's where I'm getting a lot of criticism, or my criticism is, of this episode. I feel like you want to tell a story about Starfleet, their morality, their prime directives, their whole mode of operation.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get into these really like boring kind of stories, really.
Oh,
I mean, they're largely boring and uneventful. And that's where I feel like the ability to encapsulate the drama wasn't there for me. So Twilight Zone, for example, Shatner on the airplane in that one episode where he sees the guy
something on the wing.
Right. Right. It's not that much special effects. It's not that much story going on, but the suspense was all the way kept throughout the thing. So you didn't know what was going to happen. You felt the suspense. The right close-ups, the right camera angles were being used, and the pace was there. This pace was so slow for me, leading up to what eventually was the climax of them going onto the planet's surface, which had unexplainable events occurring, like them
Right.
just unexplainable stuff.
Well, you're not alone in feeling this way. I mean, the whole time I'm watching, going, "What is this about? What are they getting to?" You know, and they're setting the Ferengi up. Obviously, this is the big reveal. And I remember feeling when shooting it that this is what we're terrified of. You guys look like little butts. Little butt, with really bad teeth. And Armin will attest to this. I couldn't keep a straight face, when they were like going, ooh. Well, we'll get into that in a minute, but I'll tell you something. But
what's it about?
What is this about? And then you've got, that hokey ass planet we go to with the rocks, the cardboard rocks that are so obvious. And you've
crystals.
Got, the Wizard of Oz coming onto the screen, and it was just really, I still don't understand how the hell everyone ended up in a different, when they beamed down and LaFour, Geordi is upside down.
Yeah.
What was Tasha? All of a sudden appears in the right moment, the heroic moment to with her phaser.
I was fine with that.
But it was like, well, at least they elevated her,
peering down from the mountain.
I mean, but it was such a wonky.
I
scratch my head. I don't understand this episode at all.
Me neither. I mean, I know it's a Ferengi episode. They want to introduce the Ferengi. That's fine. That they made some things about the Ferengi. They gave us certain facts about their background that end up becoming part of Star Trek lore going on in the future. They're being mercantiles and traders, and how they have this rule, how they acquire things and things of that nature. Also, their belief system in women, women being clothed and whatnot. All of those kinds of things become consistent with Ferengi, and I'm okay with those. I'm not okay with I'm thinking to myself, okay, so now when the new Star Trek that's out now, all of this new Discovery and Strange New Worlds, they have the advantage of 25, 30 years of technology, right? So they have, better consoles. Their ships look immaculate. Their displays and their, are much more elaborate than ours. It looks better, and you can see the advance in the years of technology. They're able to film digital. There's all kinds of things that they're able to do now with special effects. It just looks like it's moved and progressed. I'm watching this episode, and it felt like the original series episode.
Totally. Maybe the consoles get a little brighter and look more digitized.
Exactly.
But when they go to the thought that came into my mind as I'm watching this, I'm going, okay, we've become that now. We've become what, when I look at the original series,
right.
I have a response to, which is the campiness, which are the, cardboard sets and the goofy hairdos and the, silly outfits. That's what this first season is.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I have to agree with that. Unfortunately, they've had I don't know, 87. So it's what, 20 something years after the original show.
25 years, and but remember we talked about
it still
this.
Can't be, and the Chinese finger lock gags, these really small little joke gags that they go for, like Geordi being upside down, these small gags for comedy they lose me in the most inappropriate moments.
Did you notice how Data's finger paint or makeup came up? Like he was going like this, and then when they got it off, it was all wiped off. And I was like, no close-ups, no close-ups on that, guys.
Wow.
But it seemed out of place. That I couldn't tell. You don't feel the peril, and you don't feel the adventure. You don't feel any of the above. They give it to you all kind of halfway. I mean, again with these kids playing in the conference room, and I'm like, seriously, guys, enough with the kids playing around in serious place's joke.
Right. Well,
because it's a huge ship. They got plenty of space.
Yeah.
They could go play anywhere.
The ticking time clock that they build in, where the Enterprise is losing power and it's coming down, to freezing levels. So there's a ticking clock inherent, which is a great device for tension.
Yeah. Right.
And I feel I feel nothing. I don't get any, like
urgency.
Urgency. Yeah. Like, I mean, really. And when we next see them, when power is restored, they're like napping.
Yeah, the same thing as the first episode. If you would see somebody freezing,
freeze to
death?
If somebody's freezing, you need to find them like this,
laid out,
with blankets, huddled up together.
It's not a sauna. They would be blue. Their lips would be turning blue. Yes. They would be like just fight. Yes. Your body goes into fight mode. You don't relax and chill. I was like,
you wear everything you can find, anything on the ship, all the blankets in the quarters, all of every outfit, every Starfleet outfit that you're not using.
And they would be huddled up together for warmth.
And you would be on top of each other.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I'm thinking that's another moment where they can have the captain taking action and coming up with a plan. Again, he feels like this reactionary, let me see what I should do. I don't know. Maybe somebody tell me. Troy, do you have any ideas? What kind of captain are you? You're supposed to be saying, okay, guys, we need everybody in the ready room. Everybody, let's seal the doors. Make sure we insulate the walls. Put as much padding as you have. Room.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Seriously, a plan of action. I see him not having. I mean, Riker has more action plans. You have more action plans.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to do this. Yeah.
Let's do something.
Something. My idea might be bad, but at least I have one.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting, the comment that when the away team beamed down, that the kind of throwaway line was, well, with the energy depleting, we probably won't be able to beam back aboard.
Yeah.
Oops. Well, who wants to go back to that cold ship anyway? It's cold up there. They don't even have blankets.
That wasn't dealt with before we took off. Like, oh, guys, this may be the last time we see you.
Yeah.
You may be stuck down there because
we're going to need you to get to a high point because the place is going to be distorted. So make sure you find a high point, the highest point, or use your communicator devices and configure this in this way to make sure you amplify the signal.
Right.
Some kind of plan. Once again, I don't see any planning. Wow. I don't see any kind of this. It's not logical. It's not logical. And then the Wizard of Oz guy is like, so what do I do with these Ferengis? Like,
wait a minute. He was like all of a sudden he became Riker's best friend. Like he turned on a dime.
That was what I wanted to point out. There was he's doing his thing. I can understand him calming down and relaxing, but he puts his arm around Riker. He's like, "Hey, buddy," and I was like, "Whoa, how did we flip so hard there?"
Extreme. That was extreme. I mean, I still didn't get the whole, I'm trying to follow this, and he's giving him a test. The Ferengi have set them up in all kinds of ways, and okay, this portal has opened, and this guy is going to give them a test. And what's the answer, Riker? What's the answer? And he gives the Sun Tzu, right responds, and the guy does his whole thing. And I mean, the next breath, they were besties.
Yeah,
wouldn't you be?
And where was the explanation about this alien entity's ability to read the minds or emotions, or it felt like this was a superior being that had no knowledge that 500,000 years had passed and they were the last
no longer in existence.
They said he was sleeping. He must have just been.
So
maybe they just wake up when somebody comes to their planet.
But if you are just sleeping, right, and you wake up and you're this powerful of a being, that you know about a conversation or a thought that happened prior that you weren't there for. The Sun Tzu quote that he basically used as the test. That means you know what's in his mind already. So you would know that the ship is in peril, that they're there for this reason, that they're trying to. You would have all of that knowledge already. And to me, it's like, I mean, look, they're just getting their footing, but I just don't see how all of these things weren't flushed through in a writer's room where I would see just if me and you as just, I don't claim to be a writer,
exactly.
But
I'm not
more of a journalist,
and I'm not a sci-fi expert, but I'm like a story logic. I can follow track a story. Yeah,
right. And so to me, somebody should have been saying, I don't buy that. This just doesn't make sense to me. Well, what's his purpose? What is it? No, and I felt like there was no pushback on these concepts and no follow through on intent and motive for why things would happen. For example, the whole chilling, freezing temperature thing, they could have brought that in earlier and put stakes on the line.
Yeah.
So as we can constantly, what's the rate of temperature loss? Sir, we're losing 2 degrees every hour. In this rate, we have,
Totally.
They did that in one of the Star Trek movies when Scotty was on a planet. Mm-hmm.
There was no
and that gives me the tension. So then you set that up early, and we see a slow freezing of the ship where you see guys starting to freeze up a little bit, and it's a concern. Now we have the emergency. We have to move people over here. We have to go there. Then you push the story along. They were pushing the story along once again, with this non-communication kind of let's see what happens. This is the second episode in a row now, because the one before this, when you get kidnapped, they say, oh, well, let's just see what they do. We'll give them 24 hours and just see what happens. And they did the exact same strategy in this scenario where they're saying...
Picard says patience.
Yeah.
Patience.
Oh, I love that, though. You guys may not... I loved it when he said patience, and then he goes over and gives him a nice little smirk. He's like, patience.
But
I was like, that's my guy right there.
It's sort of like a nod back to, code of honor. I mean, this is his, this is his, MO a little bit.
Right.
And speaking of honor, the Ferengi said, we will rather die before such dishonor. And I was like, boy, the Ferengi sure have changed a lot. Because and obviously we could talk about that. By the way, everybody at home, forgot to mention, ARMIN SHIMERMAN will be joining us in the second segment of this show. So we'll talk all about the Ferengi there. But I did notice quite a big, when they're talking about dishonor and, that's the only time, or maybe one more time, where we see the whip things. Would have been great to see those whip weapons.
That was pretty cool.
He zapped one person and it ricochets and hits all the other. I was like, how is their technology that much better than the Federation?
Yeah. Watch me whip. Watch me.
I know that was.
But who directed this episode?
That was Richard Cola.
Yeah.
Okay, so and he likes to be called Ricola for short.
Exactly.
But,
RC Cola.
RC Cola, right. But there was a moment there when Picard had the Ferengi on screen, and I don't know if you guys were visually kind of disturbed by the way it was framed, but it seems like his head was superimposed on the screen, and they were over the shoulder behind Picard as he's looking at the screen, and it just seemed awkward that his head was so big. It was like they used it close up on the green screen or whatnot, and it just did not sit well visually for me. I felt like it should have been kind of like how an on screen normally would look like. It would be on a TV screen or projecting surface. It felt like it was weird to me visually. I don't know. Did you get that?
The ratio from our bridge to just a full screen facial, which I don't recall using that maybe ever again. We'll see. If
I don't
the
think
ratio,
so
you're right. It's the ratio.
But it could just be that the guy was up really close.
Well, I was
Maybe he's
curious.
just
That's not Armin, right?
nearsighted. No, that was not him.
Armin. No, because I was curious. How did they? What was filming like that? Yeah, because you saw all of it, like his nose.
It was just, it was too close.
And that was. I know. I had some problem with that as well.
It made me uncomfortable. It felt like an IMAX theater version of the.
Or if you're watching
screen.
Avatar in the front row.
Right. Yeah. Like, ooh,
It's like, I got to back up a little bit. I can't, I don't want to see inside your nostril. I could, it was too much.
And maybe the joke was lost because they kept referring to, ooh, God, the Ferengi were reacting to our ugliness.
Yes.
And in fact, when you flip the screen, you've got this full on, ugly thing in front of,
right.
Supposedly
that's the
ugly.
Big joke. Yeah.
That's the joke. That's the joke.
Yeah.
But
What about when Picard, for the second week in a row, got snooty about French stuff? I don't remember him being like that later on, especially considering he's extremely
what's
British.
Up with that?
But he was saying
he's a nationalist.
He was saying red, white, and blue. He's like, well, but blue, white, and red is the beautiful way to do it, or whatever he said. And then Dave goes on into talking about German.
Right?
I'm like, I would have liked that Frenchie better.
I was like, he's snootier about French than you are, Ryan. He's
impossible
defensive about it.
but that's the thing. I don't remember him being like that. So he must not have been like that in later seasons. It must have been just then, because that's 2 episodes in a row.
Yeah,
they're trying to convince us that this obvious British man who drinks Earl Grey tea is French.
Yeah, just drive that home, gang. If you're not, if you went to use the bathroom, in last episode, we're going to make sure this dude is French and he feels it. He's not going to let you forget.
And he gave out a shout out to John Mayer, who I didn't even know was singing at that time. Is that who that was, Ryan?
Cirroc. What you mean when he said merde?
Yeah. Oh, that's what he said. Oh,
yeah. He cussed and he said merde, which means shit. Oh. But no, John Mayer was maybe not
even
maybe
born,
a lot.
probably.
Yeah, barely born. Maybe.
May I say that?
They're really pushing the French thing with him right now, though.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. Yep. How about the kind of change or tone in LaForge's kind of vibe?
How he got super pumped as soon as he had a task. He was like, yippee!
I thought he was going to turn into, do a song and, not Robert Guillaume, but,
Flip Wilson
what's his name?
It looked like he was going to go out into a full YMCA. Can you give it to me?
Brother, I'm doing it now. We're going to turn up the turbo, and we're doing it in style.
Yeah, I mean, he put his hands on the guy's shoulder when he got the thing. He was kind of massaging him
massaging him all good.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. You're a lieutenant, right? In this military.
Yeah.
Man, it kind of jumped out at me.
It was again like what you were talking about earlier. It was a very sudden and 180 where he was like, okay, and then all of a sudden he just got so pumped that he got some engineering to do. He's like, yes, oh boy, this is the best day of my life.
And I got the,
yeah.
I'm not kidding you. I thought he was going to start making some moves.
A cartwheel.
Yeah.
He slapped Data on the way out of the finger puzzle, and he's got a lot of stuff going on. Suddenly, it was like a real.
It was really strange.
These were random. These were strange points that First of all, the tension wasn't even there, so it would be okay, I guess, if it contrasted the tension and it broke it a little bit. But these were just weird places and moments for these points of humor to be kind of inserted into the storyline. And so it just I never felt like the stakes were high. I never felt like anyone was in danger. And I felt like these concepts and themes that they were trying to push onto us were very poorly thought out. I really thought this was the first season, like this was the original Star Trek.
Felt like it.
This felt like the original Star Trek. Without the advancements of the 25,
or a lot of them just maybe
had.
felt like they were stories that Gene wanted to tell in original series and never got to, and so he just carried them over, possibly. But personally, I liked the humor. I thought the humor was cute as hell. Like at the end when they said, "Why don't we send them a bunch of Data's finger puzzles as a thank you?" And Picard with his little gleam in his eyes, like, "Make it so." Like, I don't know. I'm like, I still think he's very charming, and I don't remember him smiling or joking in the first season, which apparently he does. I remember him being kind of very like serious with his booming voice and his British accent and being kind of authoritative, but he seems a little meek at times, a little jokey at other times. There's certainly an evolution in his character that happens in further seasons.
Yeah, I would imagine so. And there's times when it feels like Riker is like a little angry. He's just like trying to,
when he said understood twice.
Yeah, or something to Data. Data's riffing on files, or when something's being read and decoded, he goes, well, what can we see then? Give us you're telling us this is happening here. Well, what isn't happening here? And it was like, whoa, dude, okay. We're all in this together. We got to make this work. So I think, but again, I'm trying to go back to those early days and just go, nobody knew what the hell they were doing. They were in these costumes on this weird set and trying to, imagine this imaginary world that doesn't exist and try to connect to it. And, there's the writing is sometimes there to support us. A lot of times it's not there to support us. And, these actors that you're seeing are, really showing just how talented everyone, really is to grasp this and make this whole in some way. When the writing is there, as Cirroc, it's effortless. You flow, you find an ease in which to, exactly. You're just gliding through this, and you get out of its way and you just tell the story. When it's not, you're like, oh God, you find yourself, muscling sometimes this stuff or trying to find some cohesion that just isn't there. And it's forced.
Yes. And that's why once again, to the actor's credit, because as actors, you're given the material. There's only so much time of a window where you can try to debate certain things and whatnot, but you're basically given the story. And you have to carry it. And I think that as far as there's several things I want to give the cast credit for. First, I want to give them credit for not being a duplicate or a copy of the original series characters. No. There's a lot of people that would have tried to say, well, let me try to do it that way and kind of, well, I'm the science guy. I'm going to copy the way he did. I'm going to do it like Kirk did it. I don't see any Kirk and Picard. He's doing it his own way. Thank God.
Yeah, for
not
real.
A cowboy.
Yeah, even though it's the storyline isn't there, the way he's playing it, he's not trying to emulate or copy somebody else. So I give that all of you guys on the show feel like brand new characters. I don't feel like, oh, he's trying to be like Scotty and he's trying to be like Spock. I don't see it there, and I just see individual original characters, and that I'm thankful for. The other thing I think you guys get credit for is that you are carrying these stories that are really not really good stories. So you're having to, I think that's why LeVar Burton makes a choice in that moment to do it that way because maybe he felt like, there's no story.
I gotta give him something.
Yeah.
Well, and he's searching. He's searching for who is this guy? Is he that guy that still can bring it on the ship? On the bridge, even though he's one of the lieutenants on the main bridge. But has he not lost also his his persona in all of this? Sometimes people, I would think, in these military situations, when you have a captain and you are an officer under this captain, there's a certain protocol that you would just inherently follow. I mean, I went once to a military summer camp, and it was only co-ed during the summer, and it was run by army brass, and oh my God, man, you are like, you stand up straight and you go, yes sir, you only speak when you're I mean, it's intense. That's my only, my closest thing besides, Starfleet to the military. But so it is an interesting dynamic to see, like, but again, it's early, it's episode 4. Like, how loose are these people with each other?
I think you have the best personification of that, though, so far as Tasha Yar. The way you're playing that character is the most in line with the way the military, conduct is kind of executed. So actually, I think you're the most in line, or believable as far as the military is concerned. When I watch this show so far, you've been executing your role flawlessly. So I want to make sure I say that to you.
Well, now, speaking of the Army, though, we have ARMIN SHIMERMAN joining us right now. So we do have to jump to our break super quickly. That wasn't the most clever segue, but, I gave it a shot. And
that was pretty good.
ARM.
Yeah. We'll do it right now. We'll be right back, everybody, on The Seventh Rule.